and welcome to In Bed with Brooke, episode 15. Thanks for tuning in. If you are caught up with everything right now, we just finished chapter 7 in episode 14, so obviously I'll be reading chapter 8. I'm not sure we'll get through all of this one, but I'll try, and if not, then that's just where we'll continue off with the next episode. So let's get started. The struggle was real. The struggle was fucking real. Squats were the devil and lunges were his bitch. Alex gritted her teeth as she got through the repetitions, scowling at Denise Austin as she perkily switched from one exercise to another, coaching whoever was watching to get on hands and knees for leg lifts. Leg lifts. Glorified squats that had Alex cringing and scowling all over again. She hated working out. Fucking hated it. She lifted her legs as instructed, the muscles tightening a little more with every move, causing her to cry out in pain. Somewhere between sleep and awake, Slater rolled over onto his back. A vision of Alexandra writhing underneath him and moaning played across his mind. He smiled as he opened his eyes. "I fucking wish," he grumbled, his voice gravelly, turning his gaze toward the door as he heard another moan. Shocked, he sat up, listening to her whimper and groan, wondering who the lucky bastard was. She didn't strike him as someone who would get it on so loudly with someone else in the next room. Maybe she forgot she had a roommate now. Curiosity got the best of him as he slid out of bed and pulled on a pair of jeans as she continued to moan. Whoever was giving it to her was giving it to her good. Sorry. Okay, Denise Austin. Have you ever worked out with Denise Austin? So, you know, this is an 80s reference because she was the queen of cardio back then. So I'll continue, but that line just made me laugh. Had to stop for a second. Okay, let's go back. Whoever was giving it to her was giving it to her good. He smiled as he zipped up his pants, hoping to catch a glimpse of the action and curious who was joining her. He wouldn't mind her making those sounds for him. "Oh my God. Oh, Alex yelled out, groaning. "Hurry up and finish. Oh, it's too much." Slater's brows raised in shock, smiling as he yanked open his door. Hearing her yelling out during the height of her pleasure, doing a double take as he walked into the living room and realized that her sounds weren't from sex, they were from an intense workout. Exhaling deeply, his adrenaline dialed down, taking in the scenario. He nodded in appreciation at her on all fours, her ass in the air towards him, giving him one of the best views he had ever experienced. She was wearing little bike shorts and a small sports bra. The only other article of clothing she had on were her workout shoes. The outfit left little to the imagination, and he liked that. Being so tired, he didn't want to have to imagine much. He walked into the kitchen and grabbed a beer, hoping the cold brew would help ease his morning hard-on. Alex still hadn't heard him, so he did what any red-blooded male would do. He grabbed a dining room chair, sat straddling it with his arms draped over the back, and enjoyed the show. He watched as she continued her floor exercises and growled at the repetitions. He smiled as the Lycra rode a little higher every time she lifted her leg, rejoicing inwardly as he watched her muscles contract, showing off the tone of her legs and her behind. Sweat beaded on Alex's back as she finished another repetition, crying out, "Oh, good Lord, finish for the love of God, I am not enjoying this." Slater chuckled to himself as she finished the workout, speaking aloud, "Well, that's too bad because I'm enjoying the hell out of this." Alex rolled onto her back, gasping for breath, lying spread eagle on the floor, bending one knee and pulling to her chest to stretch her tight muscles, completely unaware of the view she was giving him. Her eyes were closed as she choked out, "I don't even have the energy to be embarrassed right now." "You indulge in this kind of torture often?" he wondered, taking a sip of his beer, feeling a little torture himself. "I wish it was an indulgence. It's a necessity. Today is lower body day. I hate lower body day." She looked up at him, sipping his beer and flipping him off. "No fair. You sit there drinking a beer and I bet you don't do anything like this ever. Your performance is your cardio and that's what keeps you trim. That and you're a guy. For some reason, men have no problem at all staying fit. I fucking hate you all." She came to her knees, reaching her arms out in front of her, pointing her bottom to the ceiling to stretch. "This really, truly sucks." "Not from where I'm sitting," he murmured, tilting his head, watching her. "Then why do you do it?" "As an actress, I have to be at the weight that's stated on my resume so wardrobe fits. I can't imagine the embarrassment if I got cast in something based on my statistics, only to get to the job and find that nothing fits because I lied. It's a constant struggle to make sure my weight doesn't fluctuate beyond 5 pounds. He sipped his beer, still enjoying the view, thinking about what she said. "How can it be a struggle?" he wondered. "You're pretty." "Well, thank you," Alex replied as she sat up, stretching out one leg in front of her, bending at the waist to get a deeper stretch. "I appreciate that, but I have to work harder in this industry." "I don't get it. How so?" "Well, for starters, I'm short. Then, add in the fact that I'm not blonde and my eyes aren't blue." She switched legs to stretch. "So in a nutshell, I've got this on my side. Short, brown hair, and brown eyes. I'm the trifecta of no in Hollywood." "So you want to be something that you're not?" I didn't say that, but what the industry wants right now is tall, blonde, blue eyes, and stick straight. I'm the exact opposite of that. Women are supposed to have curves. I mean, who wants to try to snuggle with a bag of bones or do other things for that matter? Alex smiled at that. Well, you're not a casting director, are you? I wish it wasn't this hard. Look at this. She scooted closer to him on her knees, grabbing a stack of magazines from the coffee table she had pushed aside for her daily torture. Look at the women on the cover of all these magazines. She turned around a cover of Glamour magazine, pointing at the model. Blonde hair and blue eyes. She picked up Cosmopolitan. Blonde hair and blue eyes. 17 magazine came next. I don't really read this one, but look at her, blonde hair and blue eyes. Alex picked up 2 more magazines, throwing them into a heap as she made her point. All blonde hair and blue eyes. She picked up a Playboy next and opened it to the centerfold. Blonde hair and blue eyes, looking lower on the body of the model with a smirk. Okay, she's not a natural blonde, but you get what I'm saying. She flipped through the magazine. Playboy has nothing but blondes. What the hell are you doing with a Playboy, he wondered. Alex shrugged. I read it for the articles, she giggled. I think women are beautiful, so sometimes I pick it up. I've got to see what my competition is. Slater stood up slightly, walking his chair closer and taking the magazine from her, flipping through the pages. You want to do Playboy, he asked, trying to understand her hang-ups, not seeing any through his eyes. No, I don't want to do Playboy. I can't imagine taking my clothes off and posing naked for a magazine. But it's what they put out there, like it's the only way a woman can be beautiful. She sighed as she looked at all the pretty blondes, smiling and pouting in the magazine. How can I compete? She asked softly, her shoulders slumping slightly. I've always wanted to have blonde hair. It would look like shit on you. I know that, I do, but I've always wanted to know what it's like to look like that. She reached toward him, holding her hand out for his beer, taking a deep pull as he passed it to her. She passed it back, shrugging her shoulders. How can I compete? She asked again. I have to try harder because I don't look like any of them. She pointed to the magazines. I have to get them to notice me with my talent and my toned body, and I want to be able to bounce a quarter off my ass. We all want that, Alex. I can help you test that out, he teased her. Alex laughed, giving him a sidelong glance. And thanks for saying I would look like shit as a blonde. Remind me to never ask you if I look fat in something. I have a feeling you would tell me the truth. I can't imagine you looking fat in anything, Alex. I think you're perfect. Alex tried not to let his words get to her, but it made her blush to be complimented so openly. Well, thank you. Let's hope that every casting director I come across feels the way that you do. How often do you torment yourself like this? He asked, gesturing toward her TV and her workout. 6 days a week, alternating between cardio and toning. How often do you work out, Slater? Anytime I perform. You're right, my gigs are my cardio. I rarely do anything beyond that. He winked at her. Well, if you count sex. Slater smiled with a wiggle of his eyebrows. Well, you stick to your form of cardio, Slater, and I'll stick to mine. She turned away from him and grabbed her water bottle off the coffee table, greedily chugging the water, unknowingly getting Slater's attention as she poured a little on her chest to cool off. Alex looked up at him, watching her, massaging the moisture into her skin and studying his face. His hair was slightly messy, and he had lines on his face from the bed sheets. I woke you, didn't I? Yeah, but it's okay. The sounds you were making out here got into my head, among other parts of my body, inducing a pretty sexy dream. Oh, God, she gasped in horror, the realization of his meaning hitting her. You thought I was out here having sex? Laughing, he nodded. Yeah, I did. And you were coming out to watch me? She asked, shocked. I don't know what my plan was, but I was curious to see who was making you scream like that, Slater admitted. Alex put her head in her hands, blushing profusely. I would have been mortified, but I can assure you I won't be having loud sex in my living room anytime soon. She looked up at him suddenly. What would you have done if I had been having sex? Hoped for an invitation, he answered honestly. Alex gasped, her mouth hanging open, unable to find the words. Slater grinned at her silence and took a sip of his beer, shaking his head. Not my type of threesome. Now, had it been you and another girl, he trailed off. Alex shook her head vehemently. Nope. Taking another sip of water, she smiled at a memory. My last semester in college in Colorado, I walked in on my roommate having sex with her boyfriend. It pretty much scarred me for life. Seeing people have sex isn't pretty. What did you do when you walked in on them? They invited me to join them, and did you? He was curious. He couldn't see her indulging in a threesome. Hell no. That's not exactly the kind of party I want to be the guest of honor at. Alex shook her head, laughing. I was so embarrassed and then insulted that they invited me to join. I called my dad, freaking out the next day, begging for a private dorm room. I moved out that weekend. Prude? He teased. No. Classy. There's a difference. I would never do a threesome, she said definitively. If I'm having sex with a guy, he's mine. I don't share what's mine. Not in that context. You can't be a prude in the entertainment industry. I'm not a prude, she insisted, interrupting him. I didn't say you were. Chill out. I was just stating that you can't be a prude in this business, especially if you have to simulate sex on screen or show your tits. He sipped his beer with a filthy grin. I have no intention of showing my tits on screen, and as far as simulating sex, I'll jump off that bridge when I come to it. She stood up and moved the coffee table back to its usual position, turning off the TV. I'm sorry I woke you, Slater. It was worth it. Thanks for the show. I'd say any time, but I'd be lying. I'll try to keep my cries of pain at a lower volume when I'm working out. Slater watched as Alex walked to the kitchen. Her steps labored from exhaustion, putting her water bottle in the sink. She ruffled his hair as she walked by him, heading toward the bathroom for a shower, turning when his words stopped her. Hey, Alex. Yeah. He shook his head as he looked at her, his eyes intent. I would never have a threesome with you. Alex rolled her eyes with a nod. Let me guess. Too prude, too short, not blonde enough? None of the above, he said, finishing his beer and watching her. His eyes were smoldering, looking her up and down slowly. Shifting on her feet a little, she insisted, well, you can't say something like that without telling me why. Because if I was lucky enough to ever go there for you, I wouldn't fucking share you with anyone, male or female, Slater said with conviction. Nobody but me would be touching you. His words left her speechless, unsure how to respond. Alex could feel her body temperature rise, imagining what it would be like to be the one he wouldn't share. Don't go there, girl, she told herself. He's sexy, he's funny, and I'm sure he's amazing in bed. He's also probably nothing but trouble. Slater watched her struggle with emotion, seeing embarrassment, flattery, and nervousness flash across her face as she stood frozen before him. He would love to know what she was thinking right now. Amused at her silence, he stood up and ruffled her hair like she had done to him. He walked into his bedroom, softly closing the door behind him, leaving Alex standing there, still speechless. Okay, so I went a little bit over, but I wanted to finish chapter 8. So there you have it. Their friendship is growing. Their attraction is obviously there between one another. So thanks for watching. As always, I'll put a note in the comments on where you can find the book, as well as my website. Please like this. Please leave a positive comment. Please share it with your friends. Please tell all your friends. And I really hope you're enjoying it. So stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye.